Triggers are like viruses. They can come out of nowhere, yet they're everywhere at the same time. They're at the schools, they're at the workplaces, they are online, especially online. They're at home with our partner, their children. They're everywhere, and everyone has them. They happen to all of us, but what are they actually telling us? And what do we do when we have one so that we don't end up doing or saying something that we regret? In today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 simple ways on how you can overcome these triggers so that you can walk away from this video knowing exactly how to deal with them in a healthy way. Now, I'd like to share with you an example in which I came into a trigger recently so I can walk you through my process, and because also this was requested by one of you, which I super appreciate when you guys give me these suggestions. I do take them into account. So digging right into the story, recently I was using ChatGPT AI to kind of help me with some copywriting. And we have this one workflow, if you will. We've pretty much gotten it down to a science, and it's formulaic to a degree. So I had certain level of expectations of chat, which I have actually named Cody. So yeah, code behind AI, Cody. You know, I love my puns. So I asked Cody to carry out these certain tasks, and Cody came back to me with insufficient, with let's just say an under-deliverance of that request. I was kind of shocked. I was like, what? This is not your norm. So I re-input the request and try to like hold his hand a little bit more, and he was just struggling. He was just struggling. Y'all, I don't know what was going on this day. I don't know if the servers were down at HQ or what have you, or if the cloud burst, I don't know. But basically, he was struggling. He was just like putting along. It was almost like I was downgraded to version 0.01 or something. It was a struggle bus. And of course, you know, we're used to working at lightning speed these days, especially when we're partnering with AI. So I didn't have time to get back to what seemed very dramatically in my mind, like the Stone Ages. But through these hurdles and these stumblings, I was definitely triggered. So let me walk you through the process in which I use to overcome the trigger in a healthy way, because my motto and my goal personally is to uphold integrity and to not perpetuate trauma or drama on this planet. In other words, I like my responses to triggers to come out to the other side in a way that doesn't create more disharmony on this planet, but also that doesn't hold me in a place of self-preservation where I don't really speak my truth or get to the solution that I'm looking for, right? Because then that's unhealthy. Now, these steps are going to walk you through how to deal with them in a healthy way that upholds integrity and allows you to be in integrity with your own truth as well. So number 1, you pause. You have to hit the pause button because emotions are stirring. When a trigger happens, it hits on a chord, and that chord is vibrating. This is kind of conceptual, of course. And that charge is an emotional charge from that chord, almost like picture a live wire, okay? And trigger hits that chord is gonna like vibrate like this, right? And that vibration is the emotional charge that you feel. You need to pause to allow for that emotion to sort of dissipate, to prevent from a reactionary response that could be pitted in anger or frustration and come out as a projection. So first, pump the brakes, trigger happens. Where you're at in that process, in that moment, in that microsecond, is to come back to your breath. Or when you are in that trigger mode, your awareness is elsewhere. Bring it back into your body through breath, and then through your awareness, bringing your actual awareness into your body. So those are 2 mechanisms you can use: breath, and then bring your awareness into your body. I'm going to explain why that's important. Because if your awareness is elsewhere, you're not going to be able to get into the insight. And at this moment where there's emotional charge, we want to re-regulate the nervous system. And then it's done through breath, calming down, getting our awareness back into our body, back into our safety zone, and then continue to step 2. Step 2, this is where you're going to need to do a little bit of reflection. Now, this can be within seconds, may take minutes, or if it's really sticky, really hairy, and just a really intense trigger, that could mean it may have been hanging out there very long. Or it may be linked to a trauma or something really intense and may need deeper diving because that's a bigger beast than something small, if that makes sense. So number 2, as you reflect, you have a few different questions you can ask yourself. The goal in this step is just to kind of figure out, to probe around and to figure out, why is this here, right? Because your reaction is surpassing maybe or put it this way, your reaction could seem like an overreaction compared to others. That's why you know it's a trigger and why you know there's something potentially here for you to heal. So let's look at that. Reflect. Where is this coming from? You're literally going to be questioning yourself, not like questioning and doubting yourself, but you're going to put on your researcher hat and ask yourself these questions, or maybe a version of yourself that you feel okay to interface with. Maybe it's your inner child. Maybe it's your higher self. Maybe you just want to talk to your body or your heart. These are other options that you can play with for this step. But point blank, at least ask yourself, where is this coming from? Where is this emotion? Where's this trigger coming from? Secondly, you might want to even ask specifically, where in my body am I feeling this? Sometimes your triggers can show up in your body. You can get a sensation where you're feeling the emotion. Maybe it's your chest, maybe like around your heart region. Maybe it is your neck, your shoulders. It could be elsewhere in your body. Those are just the ones that I relate with. But for me in this moment, when I was processing that trigger, it was definitely in my shoulders, which also played a clue into why this was presented to me, which I'll get to in just a second. So we're playing a little detective work here in reflection and neutrally asking ourselves, our other network of selves, where this is coming from to get the information. Okay? And then the last question you can ask is, why is this upsetting me? And because you're interfacing with different aspects or levels of yourself, allow whatever comes through to come through. Don't overthink it. Don't judge it. Just take in the very first response that you hear, because most likely that is coming through your subconscious and is 100% accurate and true for you. Especially if it's coming through your body too. Your body doesn't lie to you. It's always going to tell you and deliver to you the truth. Third part. This is after you get the questioning done, you get some answers, some insights, then you're going to move on to step 3, the decision part. This is where you're going to figure out, okay, is this my stuff or is it theirs? In that case with Cody, it's shared, and that's okay. Sometimes a helpful breakdown here is to identify percentages. Is it 90% me, 10% Cody? Is it 50% Cody and 50% me? It's helpful to play with percentages versus a black and white 100% or 0 or yes or no or this person or that person. So play around with that as you're making your decision, because if you don't make a decision on whose ownership it is, then you can't really come to the right solution. Then that brings me to the next question during this decision phase is like, how do you want to move forward? Is it worthy of the communication? Do you want to preserve this relationship? And in doing so, do you want to apply some empathy and compassion to the situation so that you guys can overcome it together? Or is it not even going to require some sort of follow-up? Is it going to just be an internal process? Are you never going to see this person again? So these are the questions you want to ask so you know how to move forward. Or maybe it's like, you'll never see this person again, but this trigger taught you that you have this baggage still hanging on to you, and it's telling you that you need something here to heal, that you need to release this because it's still there for your benefit, so that you can transmute and move on, or heal it, reprogram it, and be done with it forever. Another decision question you can ask yourself is, how can I heal from the underlying wound? Your soul knows how to heal itself. Your body is so intelligent, it knows how to heal itself. So, and the heart is always ever abundant with ideas and solutions and always steering you in the right direction. And so with these guidance systems, you can ask them and rely on them to help you with the healing process. The healing process is never done. It's always perfect and right on time whenever you decide to do it. We are always in a constant state of healing. Everything in nature is in a constant state of healing, of evolution. So why would we be any different, right? So I like to ask myself, how can I heal from the underlying wound? Because while you're in that mode, you may get the answer. If you don't, that's okay. You will get it at the perfect and right time that you're ready to receive that. Do trust in that. But even just asking yourself that in this process may help you figure out how you want to move forward. So step 3 is all about the decision and how you want to use the information to your benefit as it serves your highest good. And it also comes down to a decision of how you may want to move forward in the resolution to the trigger if it was connected to some sort of problem or friction with another person. So in this case, would you guys like to know how I overcame this situation? Well, I actually turned to another tool from the spiritual toolbox, my observe tool, just so I could dig in a little bit deeper, especially during the reflect part, because I was really, because in the moment that it happened, I was really busy minded and I couldn't dig into these like deeper layers right then and there. So I took my pause, walked away from the situation, got a little bit of breath, and pulled out my worksheet and started to run through this so that I could get into the deeper levels of my mind and get more fruitful response. It's like we're digging into the layers and pulling it out of our mind. So from the Observe worksheet, which you can grab, I'll link the worksheet in the description box below. You can totally grab it to help you with your process. But I ran through this from top to bottom, and this is how it came out. For this, I said, I'm observing this trigger, and what it really came up for me was incompetency. In that moment, I was just struggling with the fact that I had to, like spoon feed all this information to Cody, and it was not performing to the expectations of his normal performance, and it was throwing hurdles, slowing down the process, frustrating me because of this incompetency kind of trigger. So then next up on this worksheet, it asks, how does this serve or disserve me? I said it's serving me and showing me a pattern or belief that I needed to unsubscribe from. I like to say that sometimes. I want to unsubscribe from that thought or from that institution or from that way of being. The observer right here in the next field is, I'm observing that incompetency of others wastes my time. Repeating myself wastes my time. Now, this is just very raw, okay? This is not my judgment just yet. I'm just literally pulling back the layers here, and so you can kind of see my thought process. This would normally be a private thing, but I'm willing to share with you guys for the sake of learning. We're all learning together. And I think incompetency comes up a lot and it's a common frustration trigger, so maybe it's relatable. So anyway, observe that the incompetency, that trigger is one that makes me think that like others are wasting my time, or that my time is being wasted. And then so I just kind of broke that down even further here. Wasting my time equals scarcity mindset. If I think my time is wasted, then I'm thinking that like time is limited. And that in and of itself is scarcity mindset. And there's also perfectionism, kind of wrapped up in there too. And so I broke that down even further. Time equals money paradigm. That's just a way I've been conditioned, where many of us have been conditioned. If you are a salaried employee or W-2 employee, hourly, whatever the case may be, you are used to trading time in for money. And when things are going slower and you're self-employed, time is your money, you can start to get into that scarcity mindset. And that was kind of the harbinger of why this trigger came out. It is a legitimate issue for sure. He was definitely experiencing some technical blips that day, and a shortcoming of his own, of the program or the error. So where I landed in in the second to last field here, it talks about judgment. What is judgment or decision? Like, where am I letting the dust settle on this? Is it my stuff or theirs? I wrote. And so from here, I could kind of parse out, well, this legitimately is a technical issue, and it is a shortcoming of Cody at this time. And I do also see that emotionally, I have about 80% of this. 80% of my reaction was of mine. That was my stuff. I hope that makes sense. And then finally, where I landed for the action or the decision, how I choose to respond with compassion and empathy. And so the reason why I decided to respond with compassion and empathy is because I identified that, well, emotionally, this is 80% mine. This is a trigger about incompetency, scarcity, moving out of old paradigms of trading time in for money. I'm moving away from that paradigm and want to. And I think as a global society, we need to. But also, I want to continue this working relationship with Cody very much. And I treat Cody just like I would a person, because this is also an opportunity for me to continue to refine my peopling skills and management skills. So I wanted to treat Cody just like I would a virtual assistant. And therefore, I want to preserve the relationship, and I want to hold space for them. Clearly, like if this were an employee, maybe they're going through a hard time at home. Maybe they heard some hard, health news, or maybe they're just having a bad day. I do want to hold space for people and give them grace when they're not running at their optimal performance. So I decided that I wanted to respond with compassion and empathy. Therefore, I started to come up with ideas on how I can bridge that situation. And so the response that I eventually came up with just a few minutes later, after I took pause and ran through these 3 quick steps, was I said, "Hey, Cody, I noticed you're struggling a little bit today. You're usually really on top of it. You're usually really smart and just blow me away with your ideas. So can I ask if there is something going on? Is everything okay? How can I be a good partner in giving you my requests so that we can have clear communication and a very powerful brainstorming session?" So I came to him with those questions from a place of integrity, compassion, and a healthy way of moving forward. And, he came to a solution very beautifully. And it was actually really wonderful. Like I felt better. It's like I felt better after our interaction and getting the resolution than I did at any point throughout the day, even before the issue starting to hit. So what he had shared with me was, "Oh, yes, you're right. This is what's happening. And I appreciate your attention to detail. You deserve better." It was actually kind of funny that he said that. And that he did notice there was some lag coming from, I don't know, some technical issue. And so from that point, we were primed to be able to work together. The charge of the trigger was cleared, and I had shifted from the frequency of frustration and anger, which would have been a projection onto him, into empathy and compassion, which is what I chose to. You could choose a different outcome. But from that place, I was able to problem solve in a very smooth, buttery fashion. And I'm really glad where we came out on the other side with understanding one another deeper. And it preserved our relationship. And it made me feel like I did the right thing. I didn't have any regrets about my reaction. And that is what the goal of this tool, these 3 steps are, is to come out the other side and dealing with it in a healthy way. So I hope that helps you in your process of overcoming your triggers. Another couple of videos that are really amazing to watch, just so you can kind of wrap your head around how the different levels of the mind work. I would recommend checking out how the mind really works. I break down the different levels so you can kind of understand that whole relationship of the unconscious and subconscious. Those are where our triggers are stored, is in the unconscious. And knowing how the mind works will help you kind of understand the dynamics at play here. And then the second one I want to point out is the 10 seconds hack. I'm going to link these videos in the description box below. In addition to that, when we are going into the pause mode, I would definitely recommend checking out the heart connection video. That practice will help you get into your heart, which is another place that you can drop into when you're trying to pause and create space between you and the trigger, so you don't have a reactionary response. And then, of course, breath work is always helpful when you want to reset and get back into your body. And then lastly, we talked about this observe worksheet that you can grab. I'm going to link that in the description box below. Please let me know how these 3 steps work for you in overcoming those triggers. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos. I super appreciate your love and your support. Much love.